What's up, everybody? It's your boy TGK. We about to get into a Dallas Mavericks versus the Los Angeles Clippers playoff round number 1 series review. We're about to get into as much as I get into in this series, and I'm also give you a prediction at the end of this video. So lock in, let's get it going. So first things first, guys. The Dallas Mavericks and the Los Angeles Clippers are two very different teams since the last time they have played against each other. I'm not going to get into that. There's plenty of videos that talk about what they did in those previous matchups. I only want to get into what the teams did since the trade deadline, because that is a big thing for the Dallas Mavericks as to what this current team is, and also what the current team in Los Angeles is, right? So when you look at the data, man, you look at since the trade deadline, and you look at what the actual team has done since that trade deadline, minus the last 2 games where the starters didn't even play, you'll find some really interesting stuff to be found. Check it out. So the Dallas Mavericks, since the trade deadline, they are 22-7, ladies and gentlemen, 22-7. They're averaging 119 points per game, shooting about almost 50% from the field, 38% from the three-point line. Just giving you real quick hits right quick, right? I'm not trying to keep you here all day. However, the LA Clippers, they were 17-13 during that same time span, only scoring 111 points. They were about 48% from the field and 36% from 3. So even as bad as the Mavericks were shooting from 3, quote unquote, after the trade deadline, they were still shooting better than the Los Angeles Clippers. Again, during this time span in the whole NBA, the Dallas Mavericks were the second best team when it comes to the record in that short time span that I was referring to. The Clippers were the 13th best team in the league. So it tells you that these two teams were quite separated by 11 teams to tell you a better picture as far as what type of teams are going into this playoff series and basically colliding with one another. We're talking about one team that's been the second best team in the entire NBA versus a team that was the 13th best team. So again, take that for what you will, but that is something to keep in mind as far as these two teams since the trade deadline. And again, now I want to get into 5-man lineups. So when you go to NBA.com, you check out their advanced section, you could actually take a look at this. So I'm going from since the trade deadline to prior to the last 2 games of the season. So this pocket right here gives you a really good outline and understanding what these teams have been since the trade deadline. Now we're going to start with the Dallas Mavericks. So for the Dallas Mavericks, they had one 5-man lineup of Kyrie Irving, Derrick Jones Jr., PJ Washington, Luka Doncic, and Daniel Gafford. In this time span, they played 17 games together, 176 total minutes played together, an offensive rating of 115, a defensive rating of 99.7, and a net rating of 15.5. That is amazing. And also a fast pace of 104.15. This is one of the best lineups they have seen this year. It actually warranted them so much success in the second half of the season, where I believe at a certain point it was an undefeated show with Luka and Daniel Gafford there for a second. That lineup by itself has made wonders for this team since they implemented it against the Miami Heat, whenever Derrick Jones Jr. and PJ Washington and Daniel Gafford, they all were in the starting lineup with Luka and Kyrie. So again, that is one of those key moments in the season where a lot of people were hesitant about what Jason Kidd was up to, and he was able to make that call, and since that point things have been a lot better. And again, this is just kind of giving you an idea of what to expect, because this is what the team is. That lineup was the only lineup that the Mavericks experienced that had over 100 minutes together on the court for that entire season. There was only one lineup with over 100 minutes spent together. That is pretty crazy. Now take a look at the Los Angeles Clippers. Now again, I'm only going off of the time span after the trade deadline. This just gives you a better outline on what to expect, right? So here is the top 5-man lineup for the Los Angeles Clippers. So in this lineup, it features James Harden, Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, Zubac, and Terrence Mann. They play 16 games together, a total of 231 minutes together, an offensive rating of 114 and a defensive rating of 111.7, a net rating of 2.5, ladies and gentlemen, a net rating of 2.5. So this team has played 16 games together. They have spent 231 minutes on the court together, and they only have a positive rating of 0.25. whereas the Mavericks had a positive rating of 15. that lets you know the severity of this, because the Mavericks defense has been literally one of the best defenses in the NBA since that trade deadline, right? And Los Angeles, they have been having hurdles from what I have heard. I've heard many things as far as some like roller coaster aspects from Terrence Mann, and also some defensive issues from fans that speak about the LA Clippers. So again, it's not saying that lineup is bad. Obviously, it's good enough to be good enough. It's a positive net rating of 2.5, but there is a glaring difference in their main lineup being a 2.5 and our main lineup being a 15.5. Now, we could delve into all these extra lineups, but those are going to be the main lineups that start the game, probably end the game. Something to keep an eye on, but at the end of the day, that lets you know how these teams have been starting games, and that is a exploit that the Mavericks can utilize to give them an advantage starting each game whenever they are a plus 15, whereas the Clippers are just a plus 2. All right, man, so I ain't trying to talk y'all head off, right? I'm gonna keep it straight up with you. I think this is different, man. I think this series is different, not only for Luka, not only for the Clippers, not only for the Maverick fans, not only for Kawhi, but I think it's different in the sense that this is the third round. This is a third opportunity for the Clippers to eliminate Luka. It is also the third opportunity for Luka to finally get over the hump and beat the Los Angeles Clippers. I think this is a big time moment for the Mavs. I think this is the best team the Mavericks have ever assembled for Luka in the Luka era. And I think the big misconception here is who is Kyrie Irving with the Mavericks, right? Kyrie Irving, man, he's playing lights out. It's a whole different guy right now, right? It's the same Kyrie, but he's just playing with Luka, so it just looks different. People ain't talking about it too much. But again, he could put up 48 any given night while Luka's giving you 30 at the same time. I think there's another misconception that Luka cannot, maintain 35, 10, and 10 like Lou Williams said. Well, unfortunately, he just doesn't know, right? Like, Luka maintains this type of performance. So considering all that, right, we're considering Kawhi potentially has injury issues. Even if he did have injury issues, I'm looking at this from the same perspective that if Kawhi was injured, how do I think the Mavericks will do? I think the Clippers are in a situation to where if they have to utilize their backup bigs and to go small, they're in trouble. If they have to play Zubac, they're in trouble. Kawhi Leonard and Paul George will not be able to stop Kyrie and Luka. They could double them all they want. The thing is, these guys and PJ Washington and Exum and Josh Green and Tim Hardaway Jr. and Lively and Gafford, these guys aren't like gonna kill you, right? But they are respectable options. But at the same time, are you really gonna be able to double Luka and then pass out to Kyrie and then double Kyrie? Like, you're going to allow the Mavericks to get so many easy points. Now, on the other end, you got James Harden, right? James Harden has something to prove. He could be the third option and not have that big of an impact as far as points are concerned, but he can have a big impact and assist. Same thing with Westbrook, right? Westbrook can play defense. He can impact the game and doing the small, grimy stuff, right? Getting rebounds and jumping for loose balls. The LA Clippers have the recipe and they have all the players to be able to be successful. I just think it's going to come down to who they're playing against. They're playing against two of the best offensive weapons in this entire league, and they're playing against two pretty damn good centers as opposed to their centers. And if they go small ball, I think that is going to be a massive disadvantage for them, where it would be an advantage for the Dallas Mavericks. And thus, it's a little bit different. They do have Norman Powell. Norman Powell is going to be an issue. Trust me, he's going to be an issue. But I think the Dallas Mavericks have been able to show through the defense that they have been playing. I think it's a great matchup for Derrick Jones Jr. to take on Paul George. Yeah, Paul George probably has a little bit more strength on him, but I think Derrick Jones Jr. is going to do a great job on him. You got to put PJ Washington on Kawhi Leonard. PJ has been playing lights out, man. He has been shutting down players like a Markkanen, Wemby. He even had moments against Jokic. You go down the line as far as the amount of players he has played amazing defense on. Even a Siakam. Again, PJ Washington's defense is so underrated. We could talk about Terrence Mann and what he could do in playing grimy and muddying up the game, right? He was talking about that in his pressers. This series on paper should look competitive, but I just don't think it's going to be. Honestly, I'm like either on the side of the Mavericks might sweep this or the Mavericks might win this in 5. The reason for it is because, yes, Kawhi has been out for a couple weeks. You just can't go straight into playoff basketball. That's just my take. You just can't jump straight into playoff basketball, and your first guy, your first assignment that you have to deal with is Luka Doncic. It just can't. You just can't. I'm gonna have to be proven wrong, right? You got Luka and Kyrie, and I don't think the majority of the national media, I don't think the majority of people across the NBA, NBA fans, I don't think they know enough about what they're about to see from the Dallas Mavericks that they're going to be so surprised in these playoffs. I'm not trying to be so biased, but honestly, I just look at this and I'm like, all right, unless Kawhi has one of those games that he had back in 2021, which he hasn't shown since 2021, that'd be the only chance that they would have to make this a competitive series. Unless Paul George taps into something. Again, these guys are older. They faced Luka when he was 21 years old, right? Luka is now 25 and in his prime and should be the MVP. I got the Mavericks sweeping the LA Clippers, and yeah, they're gonna be like, yeah, you crazy for posting this. Well, damn it, I'm a Mavs fan. And honestly, I really don't see it, right? The last thing I'll say is the Dallas Mavericks and Luka Doncic, they have motivating factors on this team. You got Luka Doncic, has lost to this team plenty of times. Trust me, if there's anybody that wants this series more than anybody in this world, it is probably him. And Kyrie, motivated to be able to be alongside his co-star to go and get this W. And then there's also some sentimental motivations, right? I'm not going to get into that, but this team has gone through quite a bit of things throughout this entire year, and they're close. They're beyond close. Not to say that I don't know enough about the Clippers. I don't know how close they are. I don't know what the chemistry's been like, but the Mavericks have been on this ascending trajectory that I think the Mavericks are going to be able to take care of the Los Angeles Clippers pretty quick. And again, my prediction is a sweep. Anyway, guys, been your boy TGK. We is out.
Your third time facing the Clippers in the postseason. What's different this time around than the first 2 times that you've obviously played them going into this matchup?
Well, of course.